Their strong start going with a comfortable 2-0 win at Burnley. Bournemouth fought back from 2 down to draw 2-2 against West Ham. Brighton edged Brentford 2-1 after a mid-stoppage time penalty from Igor Thiago. Raul Jimenez struck late to give Fulham a 1-0 win over Sunderland. And Rob Edwards' first game in charge of Wolves ended in a 2-0 defeat as an impressive Crystal Palace. On Sunday, Morgan Rogers' second half brace propelled Aston Villa to a 2-1 comeback win over Leeds United at Ellen Road. A game that I thought was going to be more competitive than it actually was. Arsenal going for the title, Spurs much to improve, especially away from home this season. I just didn't really see that, did we?
No, we didn't. And obviously this was the first time they played back five in the Premier League, and it felt as though we could tell. There just wasn't that communication. And when you look at that box between the back three, Paulini and Bentancur, you expect that to be tight and not much space in amongst it. But this is where Eze did actually all the damage, the most compacted place in the whole of the Tottenham lineup. And then I suppose just looking at these three for Arsenal, and they're interchangeable and finding themselves in that front point, in that number 9 for Arsenal on many occasions.
Yeah, they did, and they took advantage, as you said, with Spurs lining up in that back three. Well, let's have a look at how they created that space, or how they took advantage of that space at time, because I thought it was quite clever in the way they did it. I think I'll just run that through a touch more. I think they got the ball over to this side of the pitch quite often. I really do. And I think this guy, Timber, never stopped getting forward, whether that was overlapping, underlapping, getting into the positions. And I think they generally, as we just run this on, I think this happened quite a lot. You see Spurs' midfielders having to come over to what they think help Bentancur coming or getting himself slightly in the wrong position. And I just thought Arsenal took advantage of that quick switch in there so often. And this is very early in the game where, I mean, again, no surprise, Eze's involved. Declan Rice maybe should have scored.
Yeah, I mean, that happened over and over again, and they never really got to grips, especially with this right-hand side. I think that relationship between Saka and the right-back was just... I think it was more of a worry for Spurs, because they seemed to bring more men over constantly, which left that gap, like you can see, where Eze, he just had that gap all afternoon, and they never ever kind of stepped into him. You've got a back three here who are not actually marking anyone. Now, if you're in a 2, one will go tight, one will drop off, and you have that relationship. But when you're in a 3, I feel as though you lose that accountability, especially when you're not used to playing it. Yeah, I think
you know what it's like when you're changing systems and styles and you're not quite used to what you're supposed to be doing. But I actually think the spaces, we'll just keep on seeing the same patterns. You've got Eze, but look at Calafiori in that space. On the opposite side of the pitch, they always kept sometimes Trossard, but somebody out there just to make Jed Spence feel like he has to stay back in. So it was up to the centre-halves, as you're just saying. One of them had to step in. I think they actually get it right for one of the few times on this clip. I think Romero steps out, Van der Ven steps out, and they manage it. But looking around, there wasn't very many times. And, you know, at this occasion, see Van der Ven, as you're talking, there's the back 5 for Spurs, and you don't think Van der Ven made the right decision yet?
Well, he kind of does and he doesn't. He half does what we want him to, but he doesn't fully commit to it. And then all of a sudden, if we run it on, we see the space. And again, if we just pause it there, see this space starting to open up for that man there. And I can't understand what Romero's doing here. Romero's not doing anything again. Mm-hmm. Why not engage him? Especially when you are starting to realise now as the game ticks on, he's the danger.
Absolutely. I'm not sure that any of the Arsenal team will be overly pleased with the spaces that they get. Well, you talked about rotation as well. You talked about people coming in. That's Marino dropping back into the space. So Eze will go forward. And first, Spurs found that to deal with. And that's where Arsenal got a bit of joy. But there's no doubt you can't give any Arsenal players this kind of space there.
And also, if you look, so this is the 3, but then these are your 2 full-backs as well, which is, it's criminal defending, especially somewhere like Arsenal, who have been so good over the years at that strong back line. And it's so inviting for the likes of Trossard, because you haven't even got to break an offside trap here.
No, you don't. And I mean, me personally, I thought when that ball got in, I actually thought he would take that touch with his left foot and finish with his right foot. He went his own way about it. A little bit of luck with the deflection, maybe, but there's no doubt that Arsenal deserved to be ahead of that stage of the game.
Yeah, and listen, it just kept happening, didn't it? Again, we see Romero, he's kind of gone in again, but not fully committed to it. But I like this more from Spurs.
And I think the person you're frustrated with the most is this man, though.
Yeah, if we can just keep an eye on the doggy here. What I want him to do here is, there we go, I want him to go tight, which is what I think he's going to do. Yeah. And if we just run it on slowly, you can see his eye.
They're set up, aren't they? They're aggressive. But
he's set the trap. If it goes into his feet, I'm going to get it. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just going to keep running and I'm going to do a little hop and I'm completely out of it. I mean, this reaction is criminal for a defender. And he leaves the rest of his teammates under the pump to a certain extent.
And because of that, there's always a knock-on effect. There's that space that, as again, we talk about all the time, is going to find himself in. And it was just great from Arsenal's point of view, probably frustrating from Spurs' point of view, to see the same old patterns emerging in the game and nobody's solving it. Arsenal having a bit of possession on one side of the pitch, Spurs getting sucked over, and then very quickly spotting where the Spurs man was and going and making the most of it.
Yeah, over and over again we see this pattern happen, and if we just stop it there and we can just throw a blanket over the Spurs players here. I mean, there's 8 Spurs players here with 4 Arsenal players, and this is almost getting to the stage of when you're coaching kids and they follow the ball, and then, like you say, who's in the middle? It's that man, Eze, again, just arriving.
And that's a wonderful pass.
Yeah, lovely pass, and then the kind of the composure to just skip past a couple of people there. And I think this guy in an Arsenal shirt is just looking better and better and better. I don't think I've ever seen anyone join Arsenal and look so comfortable.
What's his limit at Arsenal?
I'm going to go big on this.
Yeah.
Because I think that he will leave Arsenal as an icon.
Really?
I really do, yeah. I think he's got the swagger, I think he's got the belief, he's got the connection with the football club. And this, for me, is just the start. And some people said he's been a little bit slow at times. But I haven't heard Odegaard's name mentioned for an awful long time, and that speaks volumes.
Well, you heard it here first. Glenn Murray's making big statements. So let's have a quick look at the first half stats. If you thought it looked one-sided, I think it's fair to say the stats back that up in the first half. Spurs, 32.4% possession, no shots, nothing on target, barely a couple of touches in the opposition box.
And I think the biggest worry about this is how good Spurs have been away from home. So there was an expectancy that they would turn up in this fixture. But unfortunately, those stats suggest that they didn't.
You're right, they didn't. Terrific from Arsenal, we must say that. But Spurs finding themselves creating their own issues, I think, at times.
To a certain extent, yeah.
We'll just see. So we're going to show Spurs in possession, or try and show Spurs in possession.
Well, this is their formation, isn't it? This is
this is a formation. That's the midfield. Obviously, Richarlison up front. There will be moments of the game where they have to get back in and defend, but how do you then react when you win the ball? There's going to be moments. You have to find a way to break forward.
Well, I think more and more in the Premier League now, we see transitional teams. And it's not about doing this every time, but at the right moments, can you commit people forward and try and hurt Arsenal, who we know are defensively so strong? Can we hurt them when they're unsettled? This occasion doesn't quite happen. There's no bounce. There's no real desire to get forward. Turns back out right now.
That happens.
And we keep the ball.
That does happen at times, where you try to break out and you can't keep pull. All of that leaves Arsenal 6 points clear of Chelsea at the top of the table, with Manchester City dropping down to 3rd. After a difficult start to the season, Villa's good form has lifted them up to 4th. Crystal Palace remain firmly in the European mix as they also continue their fine form. Reigning champions Liverpool now find themselves in the bottom half as they sit in 11th place, marking one of their worst starts to a Premier League season in decades. Meanwhile, at the very bottom, Wolves remain rooted to the foot of the table with just 2 points after a run of 3 straight league defeats. Both Leeds United and Burnley now find themselves in the relegation zone.
Arsenal's 4-1 dismantling of Tottenham was no accident. It was a masterclass in tactical manipulation from Mikel Arteta. From the first whistle, Arsenal set subtle traps that Spurs kept falling into. Every time Tottenham tried to build from the back, the Gunners triggered an aggressive press, forcing rushed passes and panicked clearances. Out wide, Arsenal created clever overloads that pulled Spurs fullbacks out of shape, while intelligent midfield rotations opened passing lanes and disorganized Tottenham's structure. The result? A system that completely collapsed under pressure, leaving Spurs unable to stabilize or control any phase of the game. At the heart of this dominance was Eberechi Eze, who delivered a sensational performance that ripped open Spurs' defensive lines. His timing, movement, and awareness constantly stretched the back four, dragging defenders into uncomfortable spaces and exploiting every gap Arteta's traps created. Whether drifting into pockets, driving forward with the ball, or calmly linking play in tight areas, Eze turned dangerous moments into decisive actions. His composure and creativity helped Arsenal dictate the rhythm of the match, and convert their superiority into clinical, game-winning goals.